It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders on this gloomy Monday. Alan, how are we feeling?
I'm not feeling gloom. I got no gloom.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So your energy's not matching what we've been experiencing here in Western PA.
You know what? Today is so much better than yesterday and the end of last week that I just feel like any amount of sunshine over the course of the day has lifted my spirits.
The thing for me is I've just been waiting to cut my grass, and like it can't happen. I can't find the window.
I got it in like last week, late last week, and maybe Thursday. See, that was key because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see the dog when he went outside. It'd just be like the rough at Oakmont. Okay, that's the situation that we were. By the way, did you see the video of all the guys with the?
I was just going to bring that up. Is that really how that's done?
Yeah, because when the rough gets so thick and so long, and it's wet, a tractor will just the wheels will just spin because of how long the grass is, and it holds the moisture at the bottom so well from all this rain we've having. You'll just spin out if you try to use a tractor. So they when they that's one of the reasons why they don't always let the rough get that long, is because it then becomes difficult to maintain. It's just very amusing video of like 9 guys just like in a line, all pushing push mowers.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that would be the way of doing so. But yeah, I mean, that explanation, I guess I get it. It's just, yeah. All right. Well, anyway, Alan, we closed out last week talking about a Packer, the best, in my opinion, Packers, most talented at least, Packers quarterback of all time, now joining the Pittsburgh Steelers, one of the best cornerbacks in Packers history, now set to be a free agent. Jaire Alexander becoming a free agent. This is interesting because if this had happened before free agency started, I think there's a very, very real possibility that the Steelers would have been at the top of that list to watch for Alexander's services. Now, with Darius Slay in the fold, obviously Joey Porter Jr. in the fold, an interesting depth piece, and a Corey Trice signed Brandon Echols, is Alexander still a piece that could make sense for them, or is this something you don't think the team's to be interested in pursuing?
Yeah, I don't think he would be interested, and I don't think they would be interested. I mean, I think he's of the caliber of player that is going to demand to be a starter wherever he signs, and reasonably so. The Steelers have 2 guys who are starting, and I don't think they would be interested in putting Joey Porter on the bench. So like this just to me is not as... Yeah, maybe earlier in the offseason. I think we actually talked about him being a fit earlier in the offseason. But I think beyond that...
He might have made a thumbnail, honestly, in March.
Yeah. Beyond that, we have a great picture of him on the site of Ed Thompson. It was like he was hurt for the Steelers-Packers game at Acrisure. What was that, 23 or 22?
23.
And he's on the sideline with a hoodie wearing like a giant turnover chain-like thing, like a giant G Packers thing on like an exaggeratedly big chain. It's like one of the great Ed Thompson photos in our collection there. This just doesn't make any sense. And I don't think I think people think about it like it's like not real life. Like he doesn't want to be a backup. It's one thing to just collect talent, but like it has to make sense for the players to want to be in that situation. I don't see any reason why he would want to be Joey Porter's backup. He should think he's better than Joey Porter. And if he's healthy, he probably is.
Yeah, big caveat there, big asterisk by the if he's healthy. I mean, he's missed 10 games each of the last 2 seasons. So 20 games out of the last 34 he has not played in. But yeah, I mean, I was having a conversation, listener of the podcast, Jonathan Shorter, was DMing me on Instagram about it, asking if Aaron being on the team would have any appeal to him, what their relationship was like, if I knew anything about it. And I was like, I mean, if role and money were basically the same, maybe it could be like a tiebreaker of sorts if they have a good relationship. I don't expect that to be the case. I mean, Alexander has played some in the slot and was relatively effective going back to like early in his career. And with the injuries and stuff, you look at like his man coverage ability over the last couple of years, because maybe injury sapping him a little bit. Maybe it could make more sense for him to take on a little bit less of a role. But if another team, and I expect this to happen, if another team is going to offer him still the ability to operate as a CB1 or CB2 and be paid as such, that is the opportunity he's going to take over whatever role Pittsburgh, I think, is going to offer him with Slay and Porter in front of him. So I don't think that it's going to come into play.
And another important part of this conversation is he's never played the slot. And so, like, and furthermore, as a guy who's been dealt with a bunch of injuries, doubt that's what he wants to do. Like a guy who's had a hard time staying healthy the last 2 years probably is not like, hey, how about the much more physical position? Could I get that one? I think that's probably not what he's looking to do. I would think if the Steelers are going to add a corner, someone like Asante Samuel makes so much more sense all around. A player that is coming off a major injury, probably is not going to just get handed a starting job. Feels like he could be a better fit in the slot, particularly if you put him with a player like Beanie Bishop. I think that like someone like that makes a lot more sense than Alexander does.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the other part of it, the second part of that question would be, not including the Asante Samuel part, but like if you add Alexander, is there a world where, like, okay, so Slay could take a slot role, Porter could take like a bigger slot role? I don't know. I mean, if they were to show interest in signing him, clearly they
in the slot last year, and it did not go well.
No, it did not.
Slay, I guess, like Slay. I think I looked on PFF today, and we all know they are perfect and have never gotten anything wrong, not by 1 micron, but they had him with 5 slot snaps last year. So I mean,
oh wow, okay,
yeah. I don't know who goes inside there or why they think like that. Like, I mean, you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, it's not a seamless transition.
You spend at least like $10 million, probably a multi-year deal. Like, why try to cram that round peg into the square hole when slot corners are cheaper anyway?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I doubt that there's still that same level of interest that there would have been, pre-free agency, pre-Slay signing. But I'll be interested, and not necessarily specifically the Steelers, to see where he lands and what that all looks like, the role, the contract, everything, because still, I mean, 28 years old, still super talented. It's just, getting him on the field has been an issue. So I'm curious to see how that all plays out for him. But yeah, I don't think that the Steelers are going to be anywhere near, which is so interesting that, like, I've seen not just like 1 or 2, several articles listing them as one of like the top 3 or top 5 destinations for him.
Yeah, I don't get that. And by the way, Mike Hilton also still out there. So like, I mean, I didn't want to spend.
Do we have any idea what that relationship is like? Or is it just he was with a rival, so like, it had to seem more contentious because that's just like Mike's personality?
I never got the sense that there was anything negative there.
Okay. Yeah. Just like the friendly trash talk because he's on a rival.
I think his best days are behind him, but like, if you just want somebody to backstop Beanie Bishop, I think it's a perfectly fine option, and it's going to cost 1/10 of what Alexander would cost.
Real quick, because we're talking about Mike Hilton, the team he played on last year. This isn't necessarily relating to the Steelers, or in my opinion, particularly newsworthy that we wouldn't typically talk about, but Jermaine Pratt also being released by the Bengals, long-term linebacker there, was really effective playing next to Logan Wilson. Obviously, Logan Wilson didn't play last year. Akeem Davis Gaither stepped into a larger role, and Pratt certainly compiled the stats, but I think if you go back and watch, like, did not look like he could do the same type of like coverage things. That's not necessarily his game, and I think got a little bit exposed because of that. But I think there's still a role that he could play. I wouldn't be surprised if he just followed Lou Anarumo to Indianapolis. They lost an off-ball linebacker in free agency. I think that can make a ton of sense. But anything to say about that?
Just kind of makes their draft picks make a little bit more sense. They used 2 second and a 4th on off-ball linebackers, and they signed Oren Burks from the Eagles as well. So
who's
stacked up at off-ball
I
line.
forgot about them signing him. He looked like he could play a little bit when
Yeah.
Kobe Dean went down. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
I think he will have that like strong side role that'll come off the field for the nickel. And then the other two guys will be more 3-down guys. I assume that'll be Knight, the second rounder. And then Wilson coming back from his he had surgery, right? Yeah. Elected to have surgery after their season kind of went downhill.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to some stuff here from the YouTube comments. Obviously, we're going through them a lot on Friday with DB, but still a ton left out there. And of course, some new ones. I want to start with Bother here because they made sure to put my name in all caps so they knew that they were addressing me, as well as Alan. Hey, Alan and Smitty with a laughing face. Question for the afternoon drive. Who do you guys consider the better route runner / route technician between Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen? Who do you think would cost more? Watched a lot of their routes from 24, and it's interesting because Amari still seems like his route still runs his routes at full speed. Most of his catches were contested, and he would come down hard, whereas Keenan seems like he's always jogging his routes, but always finds his soft spots and the holes in the defense, and 99% of his catches and touchdowns were wide open. Kind of like a QB's best friend, just find the hole, and it will get you similar to Travis Kelce and Mahomes. Interesting to throw that combination.
I don't know about all that. I think,
although 2024 Travis Kelce certainly took a steep drop off from previous years, but
I think Amari Cooper, like watching Keenan Allen last year, looks like he's running in mud. I mean, I don't think there's any burst there. It just depends on what you want him to do. Like, do you need a separator? Do you need someone who can just get open against zone? Like, what are you looking for? And I think they provide a little bit different things. I also think Amari Cooper, of the two of them, looks far more able to play an outside game right now. I would really hesitate to sign Keenan Allen with the intention of playing him anywhere but the slot. And so I think for me, for the Steelers, that makes Cooper a bit of a better fit, but I'm not particularly enamored with either of them.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think I've said this on here before. Like the thing with Cooper last year is the spike in the drop percentage. Was it just because, I mean, you could just equate that to the wrist injury and pretty easy to make the case for that being the reason. And if so, there probably is more juice still in his lower half, but he's even taken a step back. I mean, the two players we're talking about here are two of the best. He's route technicians here that of my generation. But we're now at the point where we're seeing that start to fall off. Those two in the physical limitations really come to the forefront here. So yeah, I guess because I feel like there's probably more juice in his legs, I would probably lean Amari Cooper. I can't necessarily speak to, I guess, schematically and other things like that. Amari wasn't as good of a fit as we thought he was going to be in Buffalo after the disaster that was last year in Cleveland. When the previous year he was putting up like video game numbers with Joe Flacco at quarterback. So I don't know. Can you just throw that year out and think that Amari Cooper has a better chance of getting back to 2023 than Keenan Allen being super productive? I mean, Keenan did have 7 touchdowns last year and 700 yards, something like that. But I'll be honest, it's not like I was going back and looking at what it looked like. Those are just the box score stats.
Yeah, I did look a little bit, and I wasn't very impressed.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's out of the slot. I really wish PFF would let you run split stats so we can see what his production was.
Which is interesting because I'm not giving an opinion on this because, like I said, I didn't watch him, but a lot of people that I've seen had the opposite opinion of you in terms of Cooper, Keenan Allen, because they talked about the idea of using Keenan Allen as like a always moving Z.
I mean, if you have an always moving Z, I think you can play Roman Wilson there. It's only when you need him to stand still that I think you have an issue. I don't think the Steelers need that. I think you could play him like that, but I think that I can say the same thing about Roman Wilson. So, like, I would just as soon find out if Roman Wilson can do it than play Keenan Allen.
Yeah. Roman Wilson, honestly, and with that addition, no idea if it's going to happen or who it's going to be.
Also, Aaron Rodgers hates motion, so throw that out there too.
Yeah. certainly we're thrown out there with that being the case. Speaking of Rodgers, Jeff Hewitt, by the way, very complimentary of you here to start this. Mr. Alan Saunders, with your extensive experience and knowledge of the NFL, can you please explain to us unknowledge fans how Rodgers is competing against Allen and Burrows? Last I knew, and roles might have changed. Both quarterbacks are on the field at the same time. Rodgers has very little to do with stopping opposing teams' offenses. That, my friend, is the sole job of the in-caps defense.
It is, but it isn't. Like, no defense can stop Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. The defense that can do that does not really exist. I mean, the Eagles did a pretty nice job in the Super Bowl, but they would not have won that game if their offense had not been able to score. I mean, elite football is basically just a game of keep up. Like, you just have to be able to keep up. You got to keep scoring. You can't rely on your defense to stop them because they're probably not going to. And in that way, you have to have a quarterback to beat one of those teams. You have to have a quarterback that is capable of playing keep up. And I don't think that Mason Rudolph is, nor do I think that anyone reasonable would think that he would be. Maybe in the exact perfect situation, even then, I don't think Mason Rudolph could do even what Jalen Hurts, for example, does with the Eagles. Like, if you're going to go beat one of those quarterbacks in the playoffs, you better score 45 points. Like, that's what it's going to take, because your defense is not going to do better than that. Like, and that's what I mean by go up against a quarterback like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, fully agree, fully understand where you're coming from too. And another thing that I want to add is just like, part of this that we've talked about, and right or wrong, the philosophy of what the Steelers are trying to do, that style of play, keeping the other team's quarterback completely off the field with the way that your quarterback is operating and offense is operating as a whole. So while they're not going head to head and on the field at the same time as a quarterback, their job is making sure that other quarterback spends time on the sidelines, as much time as possible. Sidelines.
You give up a 60-yard, 14-play drive to Patrick Mahomes, then you go 3M out and kick the ball back to him. I wonder what the I bet if you look, the points percentage when the Chiefs have a long drive followed by a 3 and out, I bet they score almost every time. Like, it's just like you're just giving them. That's the offense giving them points that no defense can stand up to that. Like, it's just, and we saw that so often last year. Like, think about how quickly that Chiefs game gets out of hand last year. It was all three phases. They had a mistake on special teams too in there. Was it a fumble or a penalty or something? But like, that game's over 9 minutes in. Yeah. Not just because of the Steelers defense, but because the offense just gave the ball right back to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. The way that these games can swing, and it's something that you feel like maybe in the moment isn't on the quarterback or on the offense per se. I mean, again, it's a chess match. So, as it relates to, obviously, Rodgers was brought up here. Chris has kind of a question here that I feel like is somewhat related to. Obviously, there's some incentives in Rodgers' contract to get it to a higher max value than what the base salary and everything like that is. He said, Alan, how do contract incentives affect the salary cap?
So there are two kinds of incentives that are written into contracts. They are classified as either likely to be earned or not likely to be earned. And likely to be earned bonuses are counted against this year's cap ahead of time and then are taken off next year if they are not reached. Not likely to be earned incentives are not included this year, but will be included if they're reached the following year. And so it is just based on prior performance. So if you say Aaron Rodgers gets an extra $1 million if the Steelers win the Super Bowl, that would be not likely to be earned. Neither the Steelers nor Aaron Rodgers won the Super Bowl last year. So that would not count against the cap this year. And should the Steelers win the Super Bowl, that would go against their 26 salary cap. Now, if the performance bonus is Aaron Rodgers gets $1 million if he plays more than 15 games. Well, he played more than 15 games last year, so that would be likely to be earned, would count automatically. And then if he doesn't play, then the Steelers would get $1 million credit the following year.
Wow. Rodgers played more than 15 games last year. By the way, people have been talking, you'd think he missed like somewhere between 7 to 10, like every season of his career.
Actually, outside of the Achilles injury, Aaron Rodgers hasn't missed a game since 2017.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I
Very
understand. Yeah, I understand what people are saying here. He's getting up there in age. He did suffer a major injury a couple seasons ago, but like, people are making it seem like this is the most injury prone guy in the world.
No, not at all. But it's both sides of the coin. Of course, nobody who is even a little bit injury prone gets to 42, right? I mean, that's just the way the NFL goes. If you have a lot of injuries, you don't have that long of a career, so you have to be. I mean, Rodgers is definitely in no man's land when it comes to trying to project performance. There's basically no one that's done it at that age. It's, you one guy, Brady. That's pretty much it, and so there's definitely reason for caution when it comes to his health, but he played all 17 last year and played through injury last year as well.
Yeah. Like, I mean, some of it looked nasty. It's almost like, you remember the picture from, I don't remember if it was Ben's last year or if it was the year prior, but like that bruising that he had like on his hip and like side.
The only one I can remember is the picture of Ben with like the pads taped to 9 different parts of his body.
Oh yeah.
You remember that one? Like that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
But point being, like, Aaron had something that looked pretty similar to that Ben picture. For anybody that's watching or listening knows what I'm talking about. And yeah, just played through it. I mean, certainly got banged up. There's like a video of him like crawling around, I think, against the Steelers, or maybe it was the week before they played the Steelers as well, that I ended up using. But yeah, he's been very durable. We'll see if that continues, and hopefully it does. The Steelers in 2025. Let's go back to the wide receiver discussion. Hunt Era 2577 said, do you think the Steelers could be in play for Jalen Polk or Kendrick Bourne from the Pats? How do you feel like they would both fit into the offense? Feel like their depth is going to kick one of them out for sure.
Yeah, so I think we've talked a lot about the Green Bay Packers and their overabundance of wide receiver depth. I think the Patriots, while their players are less interesting, maybe there are even more of them. You've got Stephon Diggs, and I guess sort of for now, kinda, his status seems always up in the air. Mac Hollins, I think we feel pretty good about him being a part of the team. And then you've got Kayshon Boutte, Demario Douglas, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, 4th-round pick last year, and they drafted Kyle Williams, one of my favorite players in the entire draft class this year.
So Kyle Williams is obviously going to be part of that, yeah.
And I was actually hearing good things about Efton Chisholm, who was an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Washington. That makes 9, even if Diggs crashes out and, somebody gets hurt. There's still plenty of depth there. The thing is, are any of these guys very good? It's a lot of names that have not produced very much, right? That's the deal here.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, they're coming here and they're still probably number 5 pass catching option at best. Like, are they a better receiving option? Like, would you feel better about them playing significant snaps than maybe like Ben Skoranek, like actually doing receiving, not as a run blocking receiver, but actually in the receiving game? Probably. But like, I mean, and maybe even Robert Wood. I think that's what if you're upgrading, if you're adding to this wide receiver room, I think the bar has to be they're going to contribute more than Robert Woods. I think that's the only way.
So how many of these guys do you think are better than Robert? Like Kendrick Bourne is probably better than Robert Woods, right?
Yeah. And I would take the shot on Polk, because I know he was very disappointing out of Washington his rookie year. Like, you look at what those other I mean, Adunze, I guess, even to a degree, compared to where he was drafted and the hype that he got, disappointed. McMillan really came on strong in the second half, but like, no one knew how those Washington guys were going to produce when they got to the NFL, and Polk did not produce very much. But I think just based off pedigree, that would be a dart worth throwing if for whatever reason he was the guy that was out. I mean, like you said, say nothing happens with Diggs and he's able, keeps his head on straight and is there. him, Mac Hollins, Kyle Williams. I mean, like Pop Douglas, just so many different things with them. Like I feel pretty good about him even as like the number 4 guy.
Isn't
Like,
he their
so,
kick
okay.
returner too?
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like he contributes
Yeah.
to special teams for them. So I feel pretty good about him. I like that's already 4 that I'm like pretty much guaranteeing. And then you got one or two other spots maybe in like 5 guys there. Yeah. But like you said, it's all you got Diggs clearly, Kyle Williams, who they just drafted and is a very nice prospect. And literally everybody else is basically the same. Now, different skill sets potentially, but like the same tier of receiver.
Yeah. And like Polk, the one sort of downside to Polk is, and Douglas too, although I don't think they would get rid of him. I'm with you on that one. But Polk's not that big. You know, I don't know if you're looking for like what, like,
yeah.
You know,
if they were to give up on Javon Baker already, if he didn't make that room, that's when I would be all in on. He was one of my draft guys last year. And again, I understand what the rookie season didn't necessarily go the way that I would have projected, especially once Drake May got in there and started playing. But like, I would take a shot on that upside every day of the week.
Bourne has some salary to him also compared to those other guys. Like he's making real money this year and has another year on his contract.
How much money?
So he's making 5.5 this year plus a roster bonus, so like a little over 6, $7.7 million cap hit. So like not that I think New England is starving for the cap space, but like if you're looking for a tiebreaker, if you're the Pats GM, you know, I think that could be it. And I also just think like he's 30. This is a young team mostly. Like, why wouldn't you want to give every opportunity for guys like Baker and Polk and Pop and Williams and Kayshawn to like grow with May, right? Like the old, like, and of course, like Hollins and Diggs are going to be your starters, but if you got to put some guys around that, like to me, Bourne feels like he could be the odd man out there. And I mean,
so he signed a new 3-year deal just prior to last season. What were they?
Yes.
I mean,
early,
like,
and then I don't know. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm not saying like he's a bad, but like 3 years, $19.5 million. I don't know what he showed in that first contract with them. That was like, yeah, we got to get this guy back. I don't know. I must have missed something about how they internally felt about him. But because I was like, he's got to be in the last year of his deal, but no, he's in the middle year of that 3-year deal. So
yeah, he's got a lot.
I don't know.
Left. So yeah, I mean, you can get away from it. It's not guaranteed. So I mean, if the Steelers took him, it would be no guaranteed money. It would just be, 5.5, 6 this year, and then if you want to cut him, you can cut him.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly a room to keep an eye on. We've talked about it a little bit in the past, but
I think Houston, we talked about Houston all last year. I feel like Houston again is set up to have
drafted 2 receivers. Yeah.
They
I know that they don't have Tank Dell, lost Stephon Diggs. So it's basically the same number though.
Yeah. But they also signed Justin Watson and added Christian Kirk in a trade. So exit
Robert Woods, Diggs, and they don't have Tank Dell because of the injury. But add 4. So it's really one more that they do have.
Right. But again, if the last guy getting cut is, they also have Braxton Berrios, who like isn't good, but whatever. But I think the last guy getting cut is Xavier Hutchinson.
Braxton Berrios not necessarily good as a receiver though, but if the idea is like he's got to be the return guy, which he's done, then he has to make the roster though. So
I didn't think about that. Yeah, because they don't have Steven Sims anymore. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Another room to keep an eye
on.
But
very similarly, like you get like assuming that Kirk and Nico Collins aren't going anywhere, and neither of the 2 guys they just drafted. John Mechie, I guess, is more interesting than the rest, but like none of these guys are really needle movers.
Yeah, I mean, if they were, I don't know what the numbers look like, but like at least in terms of like snap share and stuff like that, it seemed like they were either playing basically the same or less than Robert Woods just last year. are they going to be better in 2025 than Robert Woods is all of a sudden within 1 year?
I think Mechie is better than Robert Woods, but
I think so too. And I mean the coaching staff, I guess, is going to play. Yeah, they could just give him more opportunity. I guess my only point was, okay, if he couldn't take a job from Robert Woods in 24, is he going to in 25?
Yeah, it's a valid point. And same with Hutchinson. Like, I'd like those players. I don't know that I see that. It's an upgrade, but it is it's not overwhelming.
Already coming up on 30 minutes, but definitely have to get to this one, mainly because of the name, but I also really enjoy the question. Branson Sloppy Seconds said, Alan Smitty, JPJ becoming an elite corner, Broderick becoming a reliable left tackle, Corey Trice staying healthy and improving, or Roman or Calvin becoming a great wide receiver too. Not everything can happen, so what is more likely to, in your opinion?
It's tough.
I
think Joey Porter is the closest to accomplishing that of that group.
Like, elite though is the word. So like, I'm just gonna. I know that we haven't seen it play out, but I think we go with Corey Trice staying healthy. Like, I know that he has not been able to do so, but it's easier for me to bank on something that is largely luck related as opposed to like a player growth taking that significant of a step. I don't see Roman or Calvin becoming a great wide receiver too. Broderick becoming a reliable left tackle. Reliable is the word used there. Not great, not elite, just reliable left tackle. Because we would have considered, Dan Moore Jr. reliable left tackle, right? So like, even if he's at that level, I think he could fall into that bucket.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I do think that Joey is not that far off. That it's a lot of small details that he can pretty easily clean up. I'm expecting a really big year from him. I think people have very much underrated his play.
Yeah. No, I'm a big Joey believer. I guess, the other part is the wording leaves so much gray area for what it means. Like, when you use the word elite, does it have to be within a certain range of players? Like, he's a top 5 player in the league at his position or something like that? Or is it just individually you can tell that that's an elite player when you look at him? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Is it more about the
I
rankings?
think okay, who are the best 5 corners in the NFL right now?
Yeah, it gets tough. To me, Pat Surtain's yeah.
Sauce and Pat Surtain. Like, after that, it's kind of wishy-washy. Like, I could hear an argument.
Derek Stingley's one of my guys.
Yeah, sir. Snead, Ramsey, McDuffie.
I would probably say for me so far, Surtain, Stingley, Sauce, McDuffie. Actually, I might put McDuffie before Sauce. He can do a little bit more.
Jalen Johnson.
But
like, it's not crazy to me that to put Porter right now, like, sort of just outside of that group.
Yeah, you also have, like, you mentioned a couple of those older guys.
Yeah, what's the whole second tier? Okay, guys like Marlon Humphrey, Christian Benford, Denzel Ward, Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez is pretty good. He could go up in that top group. Trevarius Ward. I guess Cooper DeJean is interesting. He was really good as a rookie, but like, I got Joey right in that second group. To me, I think he's right there. Reek Woolen, you could put there. So I don't know. I think he's pretty close. If you just take the penalties away, he had a heck of a year. And obviously that's easier said than done, but like, that's also a lot easier to fix than, like, for example, the things that are holding Broderick Jones back from being good. You know what I mean? Like, comparatively, I think that's a lot easier job.
All right. So I kind of just did. How would you rank those 4 then in terms of likelihood?
I'll take Porter, Jones, Trice staying healthy, because it's just a coin flip,
It just
right?
sounds,
Like it's
yeah.
50-50 shot. And then what was last? Was there two more?
Roman or Calvin becoming a great wide receiver too. Yeah.
I'll put that last. Yeah.
Same.
Certainly
Yeah.
this season. Like if that's
Mhm.
going to happen, it would be Roman down the road, but I'm pretty skeptical.
Same. All right. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Appreciate the questions as always, and keep those coming in the comments. But Alan, until tomorrow, tell the people they can find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now sites account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. Smitty, we've had 3 more people sign up for annual SN Plus subscriptions since the end of our sale last week. So the list of names that you've been very, very calm, cool, collected, rolling through, and you can see them right down there on the scroll for again today. It just keeps getting longer. Just keep adding more. So we'll have to get those into the hopper there for you as well. Really appreciate everyone that has subscribed, and we will be having our subscribers only live stream next week. So we'll have to get together with DB and get a date ironed out for that. Of course, it's free to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube platform. That also helps us out a ton. We have 15,800, and this is a tricky one, 76. The one that comes to mind, it feels like it's a little bit too easy. But his son just committed to Pitt. So I'll go the old Hokie bro, Chris Hoke, was 76 there.
Fellow churchgoer of my other podcast co-host Tyler Weeks is Chris Hoke.
There you
go. Some of BYU's finest. Who else wore 76 besides Chooks? Troy Fautanu right now.
Well, if you want to go way back, John Banaszak wore it in the 1970s. We've had this one before because I had a better pull the last time around.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who would have worn it after Hoke and before Chooks.
After Hoke and before Chooks would have been Mike Adams. Big Ohio State tackle. Yeah. And also before Hoke was Kevin Henry, the defensive lineman on the 95 Super Bowl team.
Okay. Well, all right.
Not a lot of 76s there. Big Daddy Lipscomb.
Yeah.
Way back. Talk about him, of course. But
yeah, sorry. All right, we're going with Chooks. We're going with Chooks, I guess. You mentioned the SN Plus as we have scrolling across the bottom there. So for today, shout out to Ben Wanderley, Kobe Thiel, Richie Kowalski, and of course, last but not least, certainly Marvin Silva. We got 2 more rounds of names that I had already before you even mentioned those other 3. So stay on the lookout for your name scrolling across the bottom. If you subscribed and have not seen it yet, we promise that it is coming. Of course, as Alan said, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything that we talked about today, question for a future episode. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast's from, try your best to outdo that 5-star review that we got and leave us one. But
so good.
Yeah. Take your best swing. Step up to the plate. It's basically like you're going against Paul Skeens right now with that review that we got, but step up to the plate and take a swing. So do that for us, whether it is Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast's from. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.